Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of A Little Hookstead with history, if you will. We have something we're going to talk about today that, quite frankly, I have thought about talking about for several years now, and I've chosen not to. But at this point, the information that's out there, I feel like there's nothing that can be done negative by getting into this topic. And the topic of that is who actually killed Osama bin Laden. But before we get into that, I need you all to like and subscribe. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe button so that we can grow the channel, share the stories of great American heroes. And look, you're helping me by doing that. I really appreciate it. So please like and subscribe. And now we are going to talk about who actually killed Osama bin Laden. It is a topic that is highly divisive in the SEAL community, in the JSOC community. And it boils down to a couple different versions of events. Now, the general public has been told for more than a decade at this point, or roughly a decade at this point, that Rob O'Neill, former SEAL Team 6 operator Rob O'Neill, killed Osama bin Laden on the famous May 1st raid into Abbottabad, Pakistan in 2011 to take down the al-Qaeda leader. So for a quick little background, Barack Obama, the president at the time, ordered SEAL Team 6, 23 or 24 operators, I believe, from Red Squadron were chosen. They were flown in deep into Pakistan to a compound where Osama bin Laden lived, and they executed a mission to take out the al-Qaeda leader, and that is exactly what they did. They with perfection, minus the crash helicopter, killed the leader of al-Qaeda. Within a couple of years of that, there started to be controversy about whether or not Rob O'Neill, the self-proclaimed man who claims to have shot Osama bin Laden with 2 shots to the head while he was standing up, 1 shot while he was down on the ground, or whether another mysterious Navy SEAL codenamed Red was the actual shooter. Red is believed to have been the point man. Now, before we get into this, I want to say a couple things because I don't want someone to come in here, watch this, take bits and snippets from it, falsely chop them up, and make it look like I'm saying something I'm not. I've met Rob O'Neill. I've interviewed him twice. I've spent time with Rob O'Neill, drank beers with Rob O'Neill. I personally, as a guy, think Rob O'Neill is great, okay? I don't have any issue with Rob O'Neill whatsoever. He's a funny dude. He's fun to hang out with. That's all there is to it. There's nothing about Rob as a guy I have anything against. I think Rob is actually a really fun person to be around, quite frankly. That's not what this video is about. I don't want someone to think that it's about something else. I have no issues with Rob O'Neill when it comes to being a dude. I want that on the record. I want that clear as day. None whatsoever. I'm not even going to get into Rob. Well, we are going to get into Rob's version. We're going to get into Matt Bisinette's version, who's also known as Mark Owen. We're going to get into Matthew Cole's version. We're going to get into comments made by Andy Stumpf. So we are going to break down everything. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys all the information, all the evidence, and then you guys, as very smart people, can look at it and make decisions for yourself. And I'm also going to debunk some false myths about the raid, if you will, including people falsely identified as Red. So if you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to get into a list of names people think are Red, and I will tell you whether or not that is actually true. You definitely don't want to miss that. So what is Rob's version of events? Now, again, I've interviewed Rob. Rob's version of events is that he is behind the point man. Point man goes in, grabs 2 women, pushes them against the wall. He turns, there's the most wanted man in the world, boom, 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 drops him, boom again. The wife is there, a little child is there. And that is the story more or less Rob has stuck to for about 10 years. He stays to it. His version of events does not change. I do believe there's been some back and forth where he has said maybe there was a shot fired up a stairwell, maybe there was a shot fired in the hallway, but more or less, that is what Rob has said over and over and over again. That is what he told me. If you have not seen that interview I did with him, I pulled the clip specifically where he talked about how he shot Osama bin Laden with that version of events. He's the lone shooter in his version of events. The point man, also known as Red, is pushing the women against the wall after having killed Khalid bin Laden. You can watch the clip of Rob's version right now.
So we went in from there, and there was already explosions and a gunfight. I think by the time I even got through that carport, they'd already killed 3 terrorists. Okay. Then we went into I went into the main building, and it was a long hallway, and there were, I don't know how many, maybe 8 dudes from my team ahead of me. And now I'm in the back, so I have a front row seat to the coolest mission in a long time. And I was just, I was actually looking around for explosives because they're going to hang them from the middle of the room. And that's what, brings the house down. Didn't see any. And I'm looking out and I'm watching everything from guys doing their jobs, knowing they can blow up, the way Navy SEALs work. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If you want to be fast, slow down. That's how you speed up. And I even saw dudes grabbing kids that were like, because the stuff happened, people were moving. Like kids ended up separated in a room by themselves. I was watching guys in a very dangerous situation grab kids and put them next to older relatives just because that's what the good guys do.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
Al-Qaeda would not do that to us. They would do a lot worse. And I remember just watching thinking, these are the good guys. I was so proud of my guys. And the woman that found bin Laden said, again, I don't know what it looks like in the house. There is a stairwell. You'll find it. When you do, you're going to run into Khalid bin Laden. And the way she said it was, here's how cool she was. She said, that's the last line of defense. If you can ace him, you get a shot at the big guy. And I was like, wow, that is dope. So a few things happened on the stairwell. I did see Khalid. I was 7 or 8 guys back, and I just stood around to watch. I'm like, how are they going to handle this? Because I should normally back up, grab some guys, because going up in an urban combat environment, they can throw things down. But I'm like, we're going to blow up anyway. I got to watch this. And the point man, they're separated by 10 inches in a banister. 2 grown men with guns that want to kill each other. And he just whispered to him. He said in 2 different languages, Khalid, come here, Khalid, come here. And Khalid came out kind of confused. And that's like major psyops, some counterintelligence. He confused him. He was armed. He said, what? Boom. He blasted him.
Because in Zero Dark 30, they show that where the sun peeks around and the guy just smokes them right away.
They sort of did. I mean, I think Zero Dark 30 was made by guys that knew guys that were on the raid. I don't think anyone on the raid helped. I mean, hey, if the movie's on, I'm watching it. It's good. But it didn't quite go down like that. And then we didn't whisper to Osama at the end. But they did whisper to Khalid, confused him. Brilliant, brilliant tactics. And then we went to the floor where Khalid was living. Everybody except the number 1 man went right and left to clear, because you don't want to leave unknown spaces as you go up. But we're in a hurry, so maybe they will. And I ended up being one guy behind him, and his job as the point man is to point forward, and everywhere his gun looks, he looks, but he's holding security up. My job is to look back and have positive control, so I can tell him when we have enough guys, I don't need to say anything. I just squeeze him. Now we're up. And so it's him and me.
So it's nonverbal communication.
Yeah, I don't like, even in combat, other than Marines and heavy combat, because they don't have radios, they have to yell. Marines are just awesome. But I don't like when guys make a lot of noise, because you might as well be yelling where you are. So just everyone, like if you turn a corner and go up and someone yells stairwell, don't yell that. I'm just going to assume it's a stairwell because you're pointing up. So and then this is years of tactics. Anyway, the point man saw above him, at the top of the stairs wasn't a door, it was a curtain. And he could see people moving behind it. And now he doesn't know it's me. He knows it's one of his guys. He doesn't give a shit that it's me.
Who it is.
Right. And I know it was never drawn up this way. It's just sometimes life happens. And so I'm here, and he just started talking about how we got to get upstairs. And he eventually convinced me. And I remember looking back, and I wanted 4, I'll take 2. But then I remember he knows we got to go. He's right in front of me, and he was brave. But for me, I remember thinking, not bravery, like here we go. I was thinking, okay, now we're going to blow up, and I'm just tired of thinking about it. Like here, I'm going to know what it feels like to face a suicide bomber, and that was it. And I'm like, go. And so he went up, he moved the curtain, and he tackled the people that he thought were suicide bombers, which to me is probably still the bravest thing I've ever seen.
Balls the size of basketball.
Honestly, in his defense, if and when I don't think he's the type of guy that doesn't ever want to be public, but they need to review this and potentially put him in for a Medal of Honor, because that's amazing. So he went forward, and simply because he went this way, I went that way. And right there is Osama bin Laden in a doorway, 3 feet in front of me. And he's got his hands on his, I can close my eyes and see it whenever I want. So he's standing up, his arms are on Amal bin Laden, his wife. And you'll actually, if you look up her interview, she says the exact same thing from her point of view, which is crazy. But I saw him, and the way that my rules of engagement went was, he's skinnier than I thought. He's a lot taller than I thought. His beard is white. That's his nose. He's not surrendering. He's a threat. He's a suicide bomber. I got to take him now. And that was in the blink of an eye. I shot him twice, and I shot him again as I moved her. So twice up here, once down there, and then I started moving her back to the bed, because it's a weird sixth sense. You can sort of tell who's a threat and who's not, and I could just tell that she's not. Yeah, and then the craziest part, I don't care which target you're going after or how bad he was, there's a human element involved with taking someone's life. And right. I could hear him taking his last breath. I could see his tongue sticking out. But I looked down, and there's his 2-year-old son. And as a father, I remember thinking, this kid has nothing to do with this. And I was almost like, I wish he didn't see that. Then I moved them, and other Navy SEALs are coming in, and they're doing what we do. We call it sensitive site exploitation. We're going to get ready to take his pictures, gather the intel. But I'm standing there, and one of my guys came up, and he goes, they were close behind us. It's not, everyone was there. And he said, my buddy looked at me, and I'm standing there, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No. What are we supposed to do now?" And he smiled.
So you're kind of in a state of shock.
It sort of sinks in what just happened. And I said, "No, what do we do now?" And he said, "Well, now we find the computers. We do this every night, hundreds of times for years." And I said, "You're right. I'm back. Oh my God." And he said, "Yeah, you just killed Osama bin Laden. Your life just changed. Now get to work."
I love that. Always on mission, always focused. That's why we have the best operator.
That one, he was not the first guy I killed. And he actually wasn't even the last guy I killed. But that one sort of took a second.
So that's Rob's version. That's the version that Rob is stuck to ever since he first started telling it, for the most part. I believe there's been some minor tweaks here, some minor tweaks there. But overall, that is the Rob's version. In Rob's version, he is the sole shooter. He is behind Red, who is the point man. Although in a recent interview, I think he did hint that maybe Red had been swapped out for someone he didn't know for sure. He says he was the main shooter, comes in behind him, gets a one-on-one with Osama bin Laden, identifies him quickly, and shoots him 3 times in the face and kills him. That is the Rob O'Neill version of events. But that's not the version of events. That's the only version of events, although it is the one that is most promoted by the essential mainstream media and the government. I believe McRaven has also said that he was the shooter. But again, nobody is more, I believe as Brent Tucker said, nobody knows less about what goes on inside a building than some high-level general or admiral on a raid of that. So what are the other versions? Well, let's get into Mark Owen, also real name Matt Bissonnette, also a Red Squad member on the raid. In his version of events, Red, the point man, fires some shots down a hallway, smokes Osama bin Laden, kills him essentially immediately. Bissonnette, other assaulters, one of which I've been told is absolutely Rob O'Neill, and this is important, come in, they fire what is known as security shots. Bissonnette has told this story to 60 Minutes. He's told it to Jack Carr. Let's start right now with the 60 Minutes clip. This is Matt Bissonnette on 60 Minutes in disguise, telling people exactly his version of events of being the number 2 man in the stack. And in his version, point man fires what becomes a fatal shot from the hallway. Bissonnette shoots him second, and then you have one or two more assaulters. I've been told Rob O'Neill was one of those and comes in and shoots. So let's go with the 60 Minutes clip right here.
And now you're number 2 in the stack. You're right behind the point man.
Yep. I kind of trying to look around him, hear him take a couple shots, kind of see a head, somebody disappear back into the room.
The point man had seen someone stick his head out a door and shot him just the way he'd shot Khalid.
Yep.
That's his version on 60 Minutes. Now, that is not the only version he is told, though, and that's important. Now, his versions don't change. Now, he does add a little more details. In his interview with Jack Carr, he talks about how Osama bin Laden was killed when Red fired a fatal headshot. This is important. He says he fired a fatal headshot because that's a little different than what Matthew Cole, a journalist, has said about what happened. So let's watch what Matt Bissonnette said to Jack Carr when describing how Osama bin Laden was killed by the point man in the hallway, right here.
So now it's okay. We're heading up to the 3rd floor, narrow hallway. Point man's in front of me. Sees a head pop out the doorway at the top of the stairs. Takes a shot. Headshot. Right? Head disappears into the room. Well within the rules of engagement. Takes the shots, disappears. Right?
One shot or two shots down the hallway?
I don't remember.
Whatever.
Couple shots. Go to the doorway, right? We don't enter the room still. He's twitching at the foot of his bed. Probably 3 or 4 of us enter the room, engage him. He's done. And when I say that, he was done with the original headshots.
So that's Matt Bissonette's version on the Jack Carr podcast. I've interviewed Jack Carr as well. Great guy. I encourage you all to listen to Jack's show. That's his version of events. Now, what is the Matthew Cole version of events? Matthew Cole is a journalist who's written extensively about SEAL Team 6. His version of events is very close to Bissonette's version of events, where this mysterious man named Red, this SEAL Team 6 operator who's a stone cold killer, he kills Khalid bin Laden, goes up to the top of the stairwell. Bin Laden pokes out. He fires 2 shots. But in Matthew Cole's version of events, it's a little bit different. He grazes him somewhere in the lower body with his first shot, fires a second shot that hits him center mass. Assaulters roll in and they shoot and fire security rounds into Osama bin Laden. Here's Matthew Cole on the team house explaining what he has been told happened on the Osama bin Laden raid, according to his sources.
Red. Yeah, well, Red should be known as the SEAL operator who fired into bin Laden and effectively killed him in Pakistan in 2011. He was at the head of the stack that went up. I think, in fact, as it happens, he also shot bin Laden's son on the second deck. And as I understand it, and I think as I reported in the book, he fired 2 shots, at least 2 shots. The first hit bin Laden, grazed him somewhere, not quite clear if it was the hip or the leg, but then he got him center mass. And at that point, bin Laden fell back into the room and onto the ground, a key detail, because everyone else who came into the door afterwards fired into him while he was down on the ground, according to my sources. And although it's no longer available, I will tell you that on Twitter about a year ago, a member of the unit who was there confirmed my version of what was reported and what the version that's in this book, and describes O'Neill, I think, as being the 4th guy through the doorway and the 4th man to shoot bin Laden. So Red, is one guy who said...
A silent professional.
Silent professional, and I think I quoted one of the former teammates who know Bissonette and O'Neill very well, who said, the genius of what they had done in constructing their versions of the story was that there was really only one person who could contradict them.
So there's Matthew Cole. Matthew Cole is saying that essentially Bissonette's version is pretty accurate. The only difference between Matthew Cole's version and Bissonette's version is, was there a fatal headshot in the hallway, or did someone canoe him on the ground after the fact? But other than that, the stories are very similar. We have another video clip. Andy Stumpf. Andy Stumpf, former SEAL Team 6 operator, he appeared on I'm honestly not sure what podcast this was. Maybe it was a Black Rifle one, where he says that there's no debate within the community about who shot Osama bin Laden. It is only a public debate about who it was, and that people within the SEAL Team 6 community know for sure. It's not much. He seems to indicate or hint that what the public knows probably is not accurate. You can watch the Andy Stumpf clip right here.
There's no dispute, from my understanding, internally. The dispute is more about what has been put into the public record.
Got it.
So I will tell you this. I have spoken to multiple people on the raid. My understanding, according to people with direct knowledge of what happened, and from people in the SEAL Team 6 community, that the Matthew Cole in Bissonette version of events is very close. I mean, they all say the exact same. In fact, I was told that O'Neill was the 4th shooter. So Red went first, Biz went second. I know the point man, number 3 man's name that's been given to me, and one other person said it publicly. And O'Neill shot Osama bin Laden in the head while he was on the ground, which caused a moment of anger and outburst from Red, who was very upset. that they were trying to preserve the face, and O'Neill canoed him, which, according to people with knowledge of the situation, did not go over well whatsoever. That is according to people, again, with direct knowledge of what happened. They side and say that the Bissonnette Cole version, which, have slight differences, but is overall the more accurate version of events compared to Rob O'Neill. I'm not saying that. That is according to people from the SEAL Team 6 community. Here's what I will also say, because it's important. There is no debate or discussion whether or not Rob O'Neill shot Osama bin Laden. Rob O'Neill, I want to be crystal clear on this, 100% shot Osama bin Laden, okay? The question is, who shot him first? Who put the lethal kill round into him? And if you ask people from the SEAL Team 6 community, they will tell you this mysterious man named Red, this SEAL Team 6 operator, the same man that killed Khalid bin Laden, also killed Osama bin Laden, firing the first fatal shots. Now, look, I got to be careful here. I know Red's name. I've heard it from a handful of people. I have zero interest in giving up Red's name. Red has zero interest in going public. There's a couple reasons for that. One of them I will say is, it is my understanding, Red is not in a position where he could ever go public, given what he does now. I'm not going to say anything more than that. His job, what he does now since leaving the SEAL teams, which was not that long ago, I think he's been out for a few years at this point, that I don't know if it's a few years, a couple. He's not been retired or out of the SEAL teams nearly as long as some other people have. His job now will not allow him to go public. It would be disastrous if he did. It'd be disastrous if his name leaked and went public. And I have zero interest in dragging a guy into this situation who had absolutely nothing to do with it. So I'm not going to do it. Now, if he comes out or his name leaks in the press, that's a whole different story, and we can get into who Red is at that point. But the witnesses all side mostly with the Bissonnette version of events, okay? Having said that, I'm going to debunk some rumors about this raid that you hear on Reddit, online, all the time, specifically about who Red might be. I think it's very unfair when people go online and say things like, well, Red is so-and-so, Red is this person, Red is that person. Let's start. For years, people have claimed online that former DevGru operator Bill Rapier is Red, okay? I can tell you for a fact, confirmed by multiple people, again, with direct knowledge, that Bill Rapier is not Red. Bill Rapier is not the man everyone on Reddit claims him to. It is very unfair to Bill, his family, his military career, and his legacy for people to go online and spread the rumor that Bill Rapier is Red. He is not Red. Now, also, Bill is very coy about his time at DevGru/SEAL Team 6. I interviewed Bill once. He's a great Christian. He's a great husband. He's a great father. He's a great role model. And by all accounts, he probably wouldn't admit it himself, was an absolutely amazing Navy SEAL. When you interview other Navy SEALs and Bill Rapier's name gets brought up, it is the name that gets brought up, and they all speak glowing of. If Bill wants to come out and talk more about his SEAL Team 6 career, he knows more than anyone. He's welcome to do that, and I hope he will. It'd be a great interview. He is not Red. People need to stop going on the internet saying that Bill Rapier is Red, because when you Google Red Osama bin Laden or you Google Bill Rapier Osama bin Laden, it comes up. That's not fair to him. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to his family. It's not fair to his legacy. The second person you'll hear all the time online is Red is Alex West. I can tell you beyond a shadow of doubt, Alex West is not Red. He's not. That is the fact of the matter. You can discuss it. You can debate on Reddit all you want. Again, it's unfair to put these claims on these people's shoulders. The third name you see get thrown around every once in a while is DJ Shipley. DJ Shipley was on SEAL Team 6, was on Red Squadron, is not Red. Red is I'm not going to get into Red's physical features, but other than they call him Red because he had bushy, big red facial hair. He was, by all accounts, a stone cold killer, great Navy SEAL. Not the guy, none of those three are him. Bill Rapier is not Red. Alex West is not Red. DJ Shipley damn sure isn't Red. please stop going online and spreading these rumors about these good men. I feel terrible when I think about the fact that Bill Rapier, people, and Bill might not even know, not a very online guy, but the fact that you go on Reddit and anytime Osama bin Laden gets brought up, someone's like, well, Bill Rapier's Red. We all know it. No, he's not. It's unfair to put that on him, and people should be more responsible and less foolish when talking about it. Finally, here's what I will say. I have given you, in this video, I've given you Rob's version of events. I've given you Matt Bissonnette's version of events. I've given you Matthew Cole's reporting. I've given you Andy Stump's commentary on the situation. I have my opinions. I believe the evidence points from who I've spoken with, what they've said privately, what Bissonnette has said publicly, what Matthew Cole has said publicly, what, when you listen, watch Brent Tucker's take on the situation. I think there's good evidence in it. Obviously, I was not there. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of questions. I would encourage everyone to not just believe whatever they're told online. And it's important, the truth matters. And if Bissonnette or anyone else, get Bissonnette and Rob O'Neill in a room together. Why not that? Here's an open invite. Matt Bissonnette and Rob O'Neill can come together. I will host an interview. They can hash out. Maybe they'll figure out where there was overlap. But I'm giving you Rob's version, giving you Matt's, giving you Matthew Cole's, and much, much more. So the truth matters. Write in the comments who you think killed Osama bin Laden, fired the fatal shot. And remember, stop spreading rumors about who Red actually is, because you've all been wrong and you've put people's names out to it who have nothing to do with it. I'll catch you next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts.